This is Kerrigan & Company. Did you know that more than 90% of cyber attacks can be prevented? Focus Technology helps organizations create a cybersecurity framework to minimize your risk of being attacked. Let Focus Technology's certified team conduct an assessment to determine where the gaps are in your organization, no matter how big or small your company is. Utilizing the industry's best tools, Focus Technology's security operations team will monitor and stop bad actors before it's too late. Contact Focus Technology today at focustsi.com and secure your company's most valuable assets. That's focustsi.com. A&B Burger in Beverly and A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston are redefining guest expectations of a casual restaurant. Both A&B restaurant locations are focused on hospitality, creative menus, and delicious food and drinks. Now, I've been to both restaurants many times and loved everything I've tried. Get to A&B Burger on Cabot Street in Beverly or head across the street from our studio at the TD Garden to A&B Kitchen and Bar in Boston today and experience the A&B difference yourself. I promise you're going to love it. Hi, everybody. This is Kim Kerrigan. Keeping me company today on Kerrigan & Company is a reporter with a passion for New England sports and a nose for New England news. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Kerrigan & Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan & Company is here for you.
Welcome, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company. It's great to have you with us today, presented, of course, by A&B Burger. I am very excited about who's keeping me company today. We have history, but not really. That's a good tease, I think, actually. I am joined by WBZ Mornings, Channel 4's Levan Reid. It's great to have you here.
How have we not done
Okay, let's talk about
together?
this.
How is it, like, we've been around the business, and we've crossed paths, and we've waved, we've said hello, we've had greetings, but we've never really talked.
I know.
Because wherever we are, it's always like passing in the night.
We're passing in the night, and we have worked in the same stations. We just didn't work in them at the same time.
And we've worked in the same city, and we've worked at the same sporting events, but we're just always too busy.
Absolutely. Now, I know that people say this to you all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm going to apologize up front.
Sure.
That voice.
13.
Kiddo. 13?
13, it changed. My voice changed at 13, and my mom was very adamant about, by the way, Levan, you're going to be making money with that voice, so I don't know what you plan on doing, but It's going to be dealing with that thing. And I was like, are you sure? She was like, oh, yeah. So 13, changed schools, more of a performance school where I learned diction a little bit better, and you're doing voiceover work at an early age. And she was like, no, that's your ticket. And this was me. So you think I'm ugly. So that's what we're getting at, Mom. So you're saying I have the voice, but this is all I got. That's what you're getting at. I should just sit at home and eat cheeseburgers all day. I got you.
That is not what she was saying. There is no mother who sees that.
Exactly.
And that's
She
not
wasn't.
true.
But when you're young, you know how you think about things. You're like, okay, Mom, I see where we're getting at. I say,
well, was it a problem at any point? Did you feel like I've got this booming? I mean, 13 kids had to have been pointing out.
So, but you feel like you're like the tall kid in class.
Yeah, I guess.
Where everybody's treating you older than you are.
Absolutely.
And you're only 13.
Yeah.
So everybody's treating you. And I mean, I'll tell a quick story. At 15, I tried out for a job at WBLS in radio into the city. And I was like, I'm gonna audition. Who's gonna care? And it was for the night hours. So I was like, hey, this is Levan Reid. We're going to tune in for the late hours. And this is going to be a fantastic time. If you have your girlfriend out there or you want to hold somebody tight, I'm going to play a song to make sure that you can, whatever you need time to do it. If you need to say goodbye, you need to say hello, you need to say I'm sorry. This is the time to do it. So I did a good audition. And I got the job.
I bet you did.
So then I had to go home and tell my dad, hey, I took a train into the city, and they want me to do the midnight hour from 12 to 4 on Friday and Saturday. And he was like, so let me get this straight. You're going to do the midnight hour from 12 to 4 on Friday and Saturday, come back, play football on Saturday, and then go back on Sunday night, but you're not going to hang out with your friends? I was like, I'm not going to be able to if I get this job, if they give me this job, Dad. And he said, I'll drive you.
Did Dad get up and drive you?
He drove me. He's like, I'll drive you. If you're planning, and his thought was, if you're going to do this, and this is what you want your path to be,
then I'm going to help
you. If I can keep you away from all that stuff that could be going on,
absolutely,
and you're trying to make money on the weekends and doing 5 days a week of school, I'll help you. So, yeah, he was all about it.
You know, you did. I don't know if he ever told you eventually. He told you because he drove you. But eventually, you know, he probably wanted to tell you that was the greatest day of my life.
Oh, without question.
I would be happy to be up at any hour.
Right.
If I knew I wasn't coming to get you out of jail or something like that, right?
Yeah, and again,
Instead, I'm going to get you.
I was never that kid, but he was just, but you never know.
Right.
Exactly. You never know. So he was like, I'll grab you. We're good.
Well, it's a fabulous voice. And for
Thank
those
you.
of us who have great appreciation, and that's, by the way, anyone, for your voice. I know on social media when we said that you were going to be here to co-host, we started getting comments about, oh, his pipes. They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that
My better
is
half, Mary,
true.
says, she says, why don't you, we were out and she's like, shut up. Just stop talking.
Right. Oh, that's the thing. You can't get away from it, can you? Everyone knows who you are.
She's like, stop talking. Don't say 2 words. I'm like, okay, Mary.
There's not a baseball cap that covers you up enough
Yeah.
to cover that voice. Sports was your passion. I
Yes.
mean, you just said you played. Listen, here's another thing I got so much appreciation for you. You played football and then decided instead you'd played baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. Football was a painful injury. You get hurt a lot.
Painful?
Yeah,
Football
you get
hurts.
hit. Football hurts. It's
Yes.
a car crash every time. Then I went to play baseball. I love baseball a ton. And I was good at it.
What position did you play?
Second base.
Really? Yeah.
And I was just like, but you know, you know at an early age when you see someone better than you, that you're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. It's just not going to work out. That dude is a lot better than I am. And he's probably practicing a lot less. So guess what? Let me do something I'm good at. So like, you know, like if this was my God-given ability, I could talk and I had this voice. So I would try other things. And I'm like, and I was still getting other jobs doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, somebody's telling me something that, you know. I could throw, but I couldn't throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I could hit, but I couldn't hit for power all the time. I could field, but I didn't want to dive and get dirty. So it's just, it's little things that were probably in the middle of everything.
You know, I got to tell you something. What you've just said is so funny because my son played football all through college, and he always said the exact same thing. The guys who were really great at it did not try nearly as hard as I did because it was just a natural thing that came to them, right?
It's a bad thing to watch somebody who's practicing. You're struggling. This dude's like, he's not even worried about practice.
I know.
He's not even thinking about it. You know, after practice, he's like, I'm just going to do a couple of gassers just to get my heart rate up. You're like, what? You're like, could not wait to get the Gatorade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could not wait, you know.
But sports stayed in your blood.
Yes.
Yeah, so you went out and you took that fabulous voice and that good-looking face, by the way.
Thank you.
And you went out and decided to cover sports.
I got a job with the Fox Announcement Report before I got a job at Fox 25. Started covering sports, was lucky enough to be around the same time when Drew Bledsoe was bringing the Patriots in, and then I was still here when Tom Brady started to bring the Patriots through. Covered championships, and then they sent me to D.C. to be head in the Mid-Atlantic, and that's where I kind of learned how to tell a story. Because you didn't have great sports, you had great college sports, so they always had a bigger background. So I did a lot of college basketball, and from there, I was in New York for a little bit. And while I was in D.C., I covered the steroid trials.
Oh, wow.
And that was fantastic because I didn't, you cover things like a news person. And, as our business was starting to change, they were like, could you cover things more like a news people if you can?
Right, absolutely.
You know how that works.
I do.
And then went to New York for a little bit. And then I thought it was all said and done. And they were like, hey, there's a job opening in Boston. I was like, go ahead. They were like, it's just a reporter job for WBZ to cover the Patriots. And I was like, say less. What are we doing? Why are you still talking to me?
Right. Why am I not running at this moment?
Exactly. I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. Say less. So was able to get that job. And then, 2 years ago, that was in 2011. So 2 years ago, they said, hey, we were wondering if you would want to switch to the morning show. And I said no. They said, why? And I said, listen, this has been wonderful. You guys have been great to me. But I'm not built to cover shootings, killings, and like politics. I'm not built to cover any of that. This has been fantastic. They said, why are you outside the door so quickly? Hold on. They said, we don't want you to cover that. We want you to try to find everything that's good in our community. They were finding that people were turning off the news because everything was negative. So they branded everything I did, meaning we have a shooting, the weather's gonna be terrible, but Levan has.
Right. I love it too.
So
it's
and
so
it was
great.
so So great.
And I know that you feel from the outside world what a niche you have and how important it is. I mean, it's just, I get up in the mornings. I did morning news for a long time, Levan. And, morning news is the toughest because everything has happened overnight.
Right.
So you're so right. You come right out of that gate with the worst news that possibly could have occurred because it happened overnight. Right. And I can't tell you how much that brings. It brought me down as an anchor and a journalist. It brings me down now as a viewer in the mornings. And I look forward to hearing from you and what you've got that's going good.
We used to have a cycle for the photographers for me.
Really?
Because the photographers were like, well, if I keep doing this type of a story, I'm going to quit.
Absolutely.
So I need to find a way to get in 11s. So I have a cycle. So like right now I'm working with Garth, but before I worked with Carlos. Yep. But they had a cycle. They made sure we'll give you 11's good stories because it and again, like, it just warms your heart. There's nothing like seeing somebody who's 12 or Joanne or who are doing so much better to you for people in the community, and you're like, man, I could be doing that.
Right.
I could be doing that. That's great. And now I find myself connecting people like if I find someone who has a problem or their kid's autistic, I'm like, I can get in touch with you with somebody to help you here.
Yeah. Well, you realize you are helping the community by what it is that you do. Don't you think that the news world is so reflective of society, and so
I think we try to make it reflective of society. I don't think it always is.
Well, I think my point is that we see a lot of bad stuff on the news, and are we reflecting that onto society, or is society good out there, and it's time for the news world to recognize it?
I think sometimes the news world is easy to have low-hanging fruit, and low-hanging fruit is there. So like if it
bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
If you don't put it out there that you're here to show the good stuff in the community, they won't tell you. I literally went on television and said, hey, if you have something going good or something that you're doing extremely well at your school, I will be there at 5 a.m. to tell everybody about it. I told everyone I would do it, and all these people called in.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time. I'm like, look, I said, I'm very adamant about trying to go live. David knows. I'm trying to go live at 5 a.m. on something that no one else has because I think everyone will have the fire overnight, the shooting overnight, bad weather. But if I'm at an event where they're showing, assistive technology, or I'm at the circus and it's reimagined, I'm the only one there.
Right.
So because I'm the only one there, it's new.
Right.
It's exciting, and I'm trying, you ramp up your energy as much as you can to let people know this is something that you need to watch and see.
Levan, there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good stuff, right?
We just have to make sure we recognize them all the time. And it's hard because the people who are doing a lot of good things, maybe they don't want to they want to go and do their good stuff silently.
Right.
They don't want people to know what they're doing. And that's fine too.
Yeah.
But if you can find some way to let them know that people care. And what's important about this is those stories can be repetitive. And I'm very adamant about saying, look, there's somebody doing something well in Charlestown, but another person could be doing the same thing in Dorchester, but the people in Dorchester don't know that person's doing it.
Right.
So you should go to Dorchester and show that person also.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Levan, we do this thing here. It's called our Focus Technology Fast 5.
Okay, this seems very, I was not told there was going to be a test. So, and I did not study.
So, and I'm not going to tell you what happens if you don't pass. So, 30 seconds, 5 questions. You need to answer them within that 30 seconds. Focus Technology is our trusted IT partner for cybersecurity, cloud, and managed services. Are you ready, my friend?
Not really, but let's go.
All right, let's do it. Levan Reid and Focus Technology Fast 5. Favorite sport to cover when you were covering sports?
Football.
Favorite card game?
Cribbage.
I understand that you and your girlfriend play a lot of cribbage.
We do.
And apparently there's a porcillian iron.
Yes, it is.
And if you play with it, you win.
It's on my side. It's on my side right now.
That was the question. Which side is it on? Where have you always wanted to vacation, but you have yet to get to?
New Zealand.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I just think it's beautiful there. It looks like a picturesque picture. So I want to go there and just look at it.
Best thing about working on WBZ Mornings?
Getting to meet the people out in the field, without question. I mean, I love the team I work with, but I would not been able to be on this show. I would not be able to meet Joanne Simons. I mean, not to be able to meet a lot of people if I didn't do the morning show.
Good job, by the way. You got all of them in. You passed. I want you to know. I did mornings for a long time, and one of the things I think people don't understand is that it's tough.
Yeah.
And to do mornings and to do them in a passionate way like you do is very impressive. You go to each and every one of these good stories with the same enthusiasm that you had the day before. And that's impressive because it's a really tough gig.
It's a grind a little bit. But I'll say this. I do things a little bit different than most people. Like, I know a little bit about the story, but I don't know everything about the story. I just know how to interview that person because I need you to keep me engaged. And I don't want to make it seem like I know more than you do because I don't. So I'm going in with the story and you're going to tell me everything about it.
Yep.
And it's great. And I have that luxury. And I'm lucky enough to understand how to make people calm down during an interview. So I'm lucky enough to be able to say, we're just going to talk.
Yep. Yeah.
And I learned that from just lower your voice so it's not heightened and be like, hey, we're just going to talk. It's just you and I having a conversation. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, you get the most out of everybody, and you're curious, and curiosity is very, very intelligent, I want you to know. Levan Reid is my guest. I'm so glad that he's keeping me company today. And coming up here in just a few moments, we're going to have a basketball great.
Oh, please, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I have a whole bunch of names in my head, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
All right, keep your fingers crossed. This is Kerrigan and Company. By now, you know how much I love going to A&B Burger in Beverly and A&B Kitchen and Bar across from the TD Garden. But did you know that A&B caters? Whether it's 4 people or 400, A&B's got you covered. Choose from sandwiches, salads, build your own burger bars, and dinner platters. Or work with the A&B team to create a custom menu just for your event. Spring is here, and that means graduation season is coming up fast. Why not treat your favorite graduate and all your guests to great food from A&B Burger? Get started by emailing events@andbburgers.com. That's events@nbburgers.com. You'll be glad you did. Learn more at andbburgers.com. Do you know what generative AI is and how your company can ensure employees are more productive? Focus Technology can help you master the use of Microsoft's newest tool, Copilot. This powerful tool can help your team speed up many of their daily tasks by enabling hands-on learning directly with the software. It can summarize long emails, generate drafts of long documents, and search for answers to key questions. Copilot represents a unique opportunity for businesses to accelerate their understanding of what generative AI can deliver for their company. Contact Focus Technology today to learn more at FocusTSI.com and bring your organization into the AI revolution. That's FocusTSI.com. Attention all you fashionistas, I've got a secret that I'm about to share. It's a fabulous clothing boutique located in Marblehead, Massachusetts, called All Chic at 152. Now, I'm a regular there, and quite frankly, I'm constantly asked, where do I get my clothes? If you're ready to elevate your style game, this is the place for you. The staff selects on-trend, unique styles from Europe, Canada, and right here in the United States. The beautiful store is filled with hand-picked clothing, as well as shoes and accessories. Anyone who tells you have to break the bank to look great obviously hasn't shopped at All Chic at 152. That's All Chic at 152, located at 152 Washington Street in Marblehead, Massachusetts.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spiced, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum, which is smooth and sweet with a warm roasted coffee flavor, a hint of vanilla, and a decadent buttery finish. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan Company, presented by A&B Burger. It's great to have you with us, and it's also great to have Levan Reid with me this morning.
It's fantastic.
It's great to see you. We're having a good time.
Yes, we are.
So far, so good.
It's been fantastic.
Now, listen, we've got a guest here who I know you have known for a long time. I don't know Dana all that well, but I certainly have met him on numerous occasions and had the great pleasure of, I think we even emceed something together at one point. Dana Barros is with us. He, of course, the Boston Celtics great, and now a man who's spending a lot of time helping the Celtics, but also helping young people, which I love.
Absolutely.
Is part of the story. Dana, good to see you.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
It's great to have you. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Celtics before we get started talking about some of the other good stuff. What do you think about this team?
Great team. I think it's, we've had some success over the last, 7-8 years. And I think this is really the crucial time for us. This is, I think this next 2-3 year period is really the championship time. The expectations are really higher this year. Mm-hmm. And looking forward to it. And I think those guys are looking forward to it because there's been a lot of talk, I think about in the past about whether these guys can play together. And I think they've proven that. They love each other, love being on the court together. But now it's just a point of getting over the hump and getting that shit.
Do you think they get tired of the we don't know if you can close it out talk? We're not sure if you're good enough talk. We're not sure what you're doing in the fourth quarter talk. Do you think they get tired of that and they kind of want to dispel those things?
Absolutely. I mean, in the time of social media, I'm sure they have that, on their plate probably every day at some point. But that's what kind of makes players get to that next level, being able to accept that. That adversity is different to accept every day. It's different, So I think those guys, and to get to that position, I know myself, the egos that we have, we might suppress them sometimes. The egos that we have, that definitely bothers us, definitely.
Did you miss not being on the court? I mean, you were here, you were away, you came back. Do you miss those days?
Definitely. I definitely miss it. I do consulting for the Celtics now. So a lot of times my main goal is to get on the court during warm-ups and the introduction because that, gets my energy going just to make me feel like I can still play. But when I actually stand next to the players and realize how tall and athletic they are, I'm like, okay, I just want to stand from afar, but I do miss playing. But it's a different game nowadays. These guys are, bigger, taller, faster, and more athletic.
I got to ask you, I was going to say, do you still miss it or do you still think you got it? But when you get a chance to work with the kids that you're working with, do you tell them, man, I could dust you at any point in time I want to right now? Okay, I used to be in the game, yo.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an everyday thing for me. The young I always tell them you have to Google me or YouTube me. But kids talking. I walk in the gym and the word that I hear mostly is get your sneakers on, I'll cook you right now. So I get that every day. So I steadily stay in the gym while they're at school. But the one thing I cannot do is play full court. I end up pulling the hamstring or tearing something. Absolutely every time I try to be too competitive. Like I said, my ego gets to me and I end up being out for 3 months. So I stick to the half court, king of the court, one-on-one games. I do pretty well with that.
I'll bet you do. So let's talk about this. You've got a gym down in Stoughton and an AAU league. And you were saying before we got on the air here that you've got both boys and girls, and it's 23 teams each. Is that right?
It's around, 26 boys and 21 girls. I think it's something like that, 48 teams. And that fluctuates between the seasons. We could have more girls teams during certain seasons, but we just have a great program, and it's something I'm very proud of. I've been doing it since I retired, full time. But I've had camps since 1988. I've never not had a camp in the summer since 1988, and that's been at UMass all over the city. So it's something I love to do, and I wake up every day and enjoy going to the gym.
What is it like when you hear of a story of a kid that's passed through your camp, whether it be a boy or a girl, and they're going to college on a scholarship? And you've gotten a chance for them, you've helped them and their parents with the learning process that they've learned at your camp.
Well, that's a great feeling. I mean, we have a wall on Court 5 where we have all the schools where the kids have graduated high school and gone to play at. So I think there's like 32 different school banners on the wall that we have kids that have gone through our program that have played there. So, and it's getting, the AAU circuit is very competitive, from the coaches, the leagues, and especially the parents. So it's something that, I love dealing with on the court, but off the court, it's like anything else. You got a lot of issues in dealing with the parents as well.
I would imagine, off the court, you just point over to somebody else, right? Nope. Take that over there. I don't want to hear it. Talk about, I know you and Levan were talking about this before we got on, about the girls' game. I mean, obviously, girls' basketball is very exciting right now. We're
unbelievable.
We're down to the Final Four and then the championship, and everybody is watching girls' basketball this March Madness. What are you seeing as far as girls' attitudes and the girls wanting to come in and start to play?
Well, I think the college game really, not only just the program, but the college game is really expanded into my program with the girls. I mean, I see a lot of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese shirts. I see a lot of girls trying to play like those players play, especially with Caitlin Clark now. I see a lot more younger girls trying to shoot Steph Curry threes and step back. So it's a give and a take when it comes to that. Give and a take that. But I think it's been a tremendous boost for the women's game. And I think it's at a time that is very needed. But the girls in my program especially are very disciplined girls. The girls are very loyal. We have girls that are with us from 3rd grade to like 10th grade. And then we have boys who are just like all over the place. If they get free sneakers at this program, they even go ahead. The sweatsuits are over at this program. So I give the girls a lot of credit. It's a great time for them, but I love coaching them because they're super disciplined and way more, adherent to listening than the boys are.
I've got to ask you, why is that? Because if you listen to the girls' college game and you hear the coaches, even at halftime, they go after their players, the women's coaches, and the guy coaching the women's game, where on the other side, the male coaches talking to the male men, they're just like, the boys, they're kind of touching them, like it's soft-handed and not doing it. Why is it easier for them to get after the girls, and they respond better than the guys?
Again, I think it's the loyalty. The girls, just from my experience, seem way more loyal. They form a more of a bond with the whole team type of thing. And guys are more individual. Guys are more, statistical and things like that. So to me, I just think it's been that way for a long time in my program. But again, I think the right time right now for the women's WNBA and especially in college. I watched the games last night with my whole family. Just sit up there and watch the game. So I can imagine being a young girl being inspired by that as I was watching, Michael Jordan and Magic and Bird as well.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, congratulations on that program. I think it's just fantastic, and people are very lucky to have that here in Massachusetts. Let me ask you about sports in general here in Boston. We went through that wave of everybody was a champion, and now here we are in sort of that down period. Talk to us a little bit about what you see as far as sports is concerned here in the Boston area.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. This generation that's kind of, in the 20s and 30s has been super spoiled. They have no idea what a franchise really goes through. I mean, we remember when the Patriots were 1-15, like in the mid-90s. None of those kids probably even remember that. So we've been very fortunate in the city. We've had probably two of the greatest overachievers in athletic history. We've had Tom Brady. You know what I mean? We've had the Larry Bird was the worst athlete maybe in NBA history. If you ever watched the Tom Brady 40, you could probably say that in football as well. But those are one of the two of the greatest champions in their individual sports and can inspire the average person because they weren't 7'1" with unbelievable athletic ability. So I think that's embedded in us. And but again, we've been spoiled by the championships, but we've had greatness. So being around Red Auerbach, he used to tell me all the time, the fans in Boston recognize false hustle. Yeah. And all they want is authenticity, and that's all you can give them,
I've got to tell you, you've been around the country. What makes I'll say even here, TD Garden. The NBA took a poll, and TD Garden was voted as the best place to watch a game around all the NBA players. What makes this area so great for when the fans come out to watch you play?
Well, again, the winning, you know what I mean? When I played, it maybe wasn't that type of atmosphere, but that was a different ownership. You know, I think Wick and his group and Pags and all the owners have brought in a tremendous style change, because when I played, and this is up until, 2000, where we had to wear black sneakers. We didn't have any dancers. They weren't allowed in the organization. So we had an organ. We didn't have that timeout excitement. We just had very, very simple organ playing during every timeout. And then Wick and those guys came in and really changed the whole atmosphere and really focused on the game itself and changed everything, And I think that's when it changed for me, because it was definitely not that in the 90s and the early 2000s. And also winning brings a lot of that in. But it's definitely the loudest arena that I've been in my, 15-year NBA career now sitting around.
And Dana, would you say because of this spoiled generation that had all of these big champions, we look around the city now, and quite frankly, we've got some hope because we think the Celtics can be our next champions, and our Bruins are doing pretty darn well. But there's a lot of pressure. You think that just builds it that much more for this Celtic team, because now they're going to have to pick up where the Patriots left off.
Definitely. I mean, and not just that point, that's piled on top of, I think, the expectations have changed for this young team, where we've watched, the core, Jalen and Jalen, grow from rookies making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, being there 5 or 6 times, making unbelievable trades this offseason. I think this team actually fits the mold that Joe wants to play. Shooting the 40 to 53s a game, adding Porzingis and adding Drew Holiday, 2 almost 40% shooters, and you lose Rob Williams and Marcus Smart, but you're adding an actual great pieces to the style of play you want to play. So I think even that now with Porzingis and him, the expectations are even higher, and I think it's time. I think it's a 2 or 3 year window where there should be some chips right now. There should definitely be some chips. I know as fans, they expect that in this window. The ownership and the players expect that as well. Being there so many times, I think it's time to get over the hump, and we're all looking forward to that opportunity, especially those players.
Maybe you've talked to him about it or not, but what's it like to be king of the town? I think Tom Brady was king of the town for a little bit. I think Larry Bird was king of the town. David Ortiz was king of the town. Some would say Patrice Bergeron is Zdeno Chara. Right now, Jason Tatum is king of the town.
Yes, he is.
Okay, he's the king. What is it like to have all of that on you in this area?
That's a big burden for anyone in any sport. And I think he's handled it tremendously. He's taken a lot of criticism over the last 2 years in the playoffs. Last year, hurting his ankle was a little bit of an aberration, but he's handled it extremely well. And I think this year he's come back on a mission. He's playing a little differently. When I watch him play, he's a lot more physical this year. And he's still taking a lot of threes, but he's getting to the basket. He's dropping his shoulder. And he's taking more of a physical mentality, because I feel like in playoff time he's going to have to play that way. So I think he definitely understands the pressure. He wants to be the MVP in all the conversations I've heard him talk. So to want that type of adoration and those type of accolades, you're going to want to have to deal with that pressure, And I think he's looking forward to that opportunity. Him and Jalen as well, who both have had great opportunities to finish in the last couple of years.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to this. I don't want to use that D word, dynasty.
Oh,
it takes a little bit.
You know, it's funny, there's so many words you could have used that.
Dana, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Continued success with the fabulous Jim. Working with young people, there's nothing quite like it. You're molding the future, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me anytime. Love to be back anytime. Thanks.
All right, everybody. That is, he's a legend right here in Boston.
Fantastic.
It is great fun to see him always. Let's take a break, everybody. You're listening to Kerrigan & Company. I have to tell you, folks, I think lighting in your home is one of the most important things that you can do to keep the house updated. And when I need new lighting, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. Their spectacular 10,000 square foot showroom inside a beautiful mansion in Lynn, Massachusetts is decorated with both architectural and decorative lighting in every single style. From crystal and traditional to contemporary and modern, the selection is absolutely unmatched. Whenever I'm looking for new lighting, as I mentioned, I head to Lucia Lighting and Design. And when I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for, I rely on the expert guidance of their design team. I know that they can help me. Learn more and book your appointment today. It's lucialighting.com. I love clothes, but what I really don't love is when I wear something and then I see somebody else wearing the same outfit. That never happens when I shop at All Chic at 152, my favorite boutique located in Marblehead, Massachusetts. At All Chic, you find unique styles handpicked from Europe, Canada, and the U.S. Whether you're looking for a special occasion dress or a casual weekend outfit, you're going to find it at All Chic. Quality, style, and savings. That's the All Chic at 152 mantra, and I can tell you from personal experience, they live up to it. All Chic at 152, located at 152 Washington Street in Marblehead.
Big Night Studios is now open for all content creators. Are you looking to start a podcast? Looking to expand your brand? Then visit bignightmedia.com. Check out our rates, check out the studio, and see all the podcasts we have to offer. That's bignightmedia.com.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Great Point Wealth Advisors. If you're close to retirement and want a better plan for the future, connect with greatpointwealth.com today. That's Great Point Wealth. They can help. Welcome back, everyone, to Kerrigan and Company, presented by A&B Burger. It's great to have you with us today, and it's great to be kept company by Levan Reid of course, the morning show over at WBZ Channel 4. I spent a little time there, you know.
Your presence is still missed.
Oh, Levan, I love you and this voice. I am telling you. We are joined now by a very dear friend of mine I've known for many years, Joanne Simons. She is the president and CEO of the Northeast Arc, an organization that is near and dear to my heart. Levan has done a number of stories about the Northeast Arc, and she's kicking off Autism Acceptance Month, that being April. Great to see you, like always.
Great to be here.
You're always a shining light for me, and you always look terrific. So it's great to have you here on my podcast. I'm so glad that
I'm honored to be here on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about, first off, just Autism Acceptance Month. Tell me what some of the goals are for you guys during the course of April.
Well, to bring to listeners and to viewers like you that autism, while it's a spectrum disorder, is something that we've become so much more aware of and so much more, I think, welcoming of. Families who have children with autism now experience such a different reaction than they did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing the benefits of people with autism in all sorts of roles in life and in our community and part of our family. And so the message really is about acceptance, and that's what's so important is the word acceptance. Is that
how important has the process been that you've started a community of parents, you've started a community of kids, you started a community of siblings who can go through it together and nobody feels alone?
Right, and that community is really important for everybody, whether or not they're siblings who can talk about the unique experience of have a brother or sister or a transgendered, non-binary family member. And in that regard, we actually have a support group for teenagers with autism who identify on the LGBTQ continuum. So can you imagine, recognizing your sexuality might be different than what the norm is, and then you have this additional challenge to being able to express yourself and be able to participate in a community as fully and completely as we think is important. So we have those kinds of support groups across the spectrum for families, for individuals, siblings, and for people who care about.
Absolutely. People. Joanne, talk a little bit about, you've been with the how long have you been with the Northeast Arc?
Over 8 years, but it's my second term.
Yeah.
I was here early at the very beginning of my career, and I don't want to say this is the end of my career, but it is later in my career.
Right, and you had a stop or two along the way, and I understand that. But you're passionate. You're very passionate about working with people who are living with developmental disabilities. Yeah. Tell everybody why you feel so passionate about it.
Well, I didn't choose my career. My career chose me when over 40 years ago, and I want to tell you how many years over 40 that is. My first child was born with Down syndrome and 4 heart defects. I was a newly minted master's degree social worker, and I realized that the world that I wanted for him, where he would be included and welcomed and celebrated for who he was, didn't exist. And I knew the only way to create it for him was to create it for others, because we all rise together. So that began really a systematic look at my life, which I was only 26 at the time. You guys can do some math there. And I decided that I wanted to make this this was going to be my career, my passion. I mean, we have seen how people with lived experiences, whether or not it's by color or race or sexuality or disease, have really moved the needle for the kinds of things that we need to see have done in our society.
How far have we come from when 26 to, I think it was last week I was doing the assistive technology fair. And there are different things to help people of all abilities, whether it be the smart kitchens, the talking machine I was able to use.
Yeah.
How far have we come?
Sometimes I even have to pinch myself to realize how far we've come in terms of making people with disability, providing the opportunities for people with disabilities to become full members of the community. And sometimes it hasn't been fast enough.
Right.
So I wanted my son 20-something years ago to go to college. And people thought I was crazy, a kid with Down syndrome to go to college. Well, now, if you're on Facebook and following the kinds of people that I follow, this month and next month, hundreds of individuals with autism and Down syndrome and other disabilities are opening envelopes just like our typical neurotypical sons and daughters and finding out that there are programs on college campuses for them. So a part of me is celebrating these achievements, and a part of me is a little jealous that they didn't come soon enough.
Well, I got to tell you, Joanne, one of the things in the years that I have worked with the Northeast Arc that I have learned is that, and you certainly are someone who can speak to this, I think when people think about helping individuals, they think about children and programs for children. But children grow up to be adults. You have a 40-something-year-old son who still has Down syndrome. So talk to us about how far we've come for helping adults who want to live these productive lives. We have a lot of programs for kids. Let's talk about it.
I'm glad you are asking that question, because before my son was born, I was actually doing a plan to reduce the incidence of developmental disabilities. And I remember saying, and I was actually pregnant with Jonathan at the time, everybody likes little kids, but what about adults?
Right.
Well, the good news is that we've realized, because of increased life expectancy and great medical intervention, people, for example, with Down syndrome who used to die very early from congenital heart disease and other things, and folks with autism that we understand now have some medical issues as well. We have great employment programs, and there isn't any of your viewers who haven't run into a person with an intellectual disability or autism in their daily life, whether or not it's at the supermarket or a restaurant or behind the scenes, and they haven't seen that maybe somebody in that law firm that they're doing business with is actually doing some of the clerical work. So the range of opportunities for people with adults with disabilities to be able to work and be productive in the workplace has exploded, and we understand that we need everybody in the workplace. Now, that doesn't mean that people who need more care or more learning, more opportunities and access to therapies they're getting them as well. So we have, many day programs, both at the Northeast Arc and many of our partner agencies within the region, that provide an environment for individuals to continue to learn, so that learning doesn't stop at 18 or 22 when you finish high school,
right,
or college. I mean, I'm learning every day.
You bet.
And we now know that people with disabilities continue to learn, which was different, as you mentioned. What has changed? When Jonathan was born, people said, you have to make sure that he learns everything in the first 12 years of life, because then learning ends. Well, that was about, one, the stupidest thing that anybody ever said, and it was totally false.
Right.
I mean,
but unfortunately, at that point, programs ended.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll ask you, what is it like to watch them thrive at the Heritage Caning Company? What is it like to watch them thrive at Breaking Grounds? What is it like to watch them do the day-to-day that everybody does?
It's pretty remarkable that I get to watch people with intellectual disabilities and autism be able to practice their passion,
Yes.
whether or not it's in art or whether or not it's in the fine art of caning chairs or whether or not it's in, working at the job of their choice. And I don't want to sugarcoat it, to say that there aren't challenges along the way, but some of my most positive interactions on a daily basis come from people with intellectual disabilities and autism who notice what I'm wearing or notice that I might have gotten a haircut and say something positive. Because we're all rushing around to get to the next place. And I'm very lucky that I get to be and see those kinds of achievements of people who are doing remarkable things every day.
So now I'm going to ask you, this is the news person in me, so I can't help it, but I have to go to this direction. Funding is always an issue for this community. And I know during COVID, it was a very, very difficult time for this community. I know you do a lot of your fundraising in the private sector, but what about the state and the kind of support that you guys and that community are getting?
Well, first of all, I have to be grateful that we live in Massachusetts, and all of us should be, because we're a state that has historically supported people with disabilities. It is a nonpartisan issue. And in Massachusetts, we've had great leaders, we've had great governors, we've had great secretaries of human services, we've had people who have really understand what it is that we do. And if they haven't understood it, they've relied on their professionals and their experts around them to do that. So our state has been very supportive. Now, that being said, we all have heard the news that, tax receipts are down, and we're entering into a period where there are going to be some uncertainties across the board. And we will be watching those very carefully. We will be advocating for those when necessary. And we're going to make sure that people with intellectual disabilities and autism are going to continue to get their fair share of what they need.
How hard is it to get grants?
Well, grants are competitive, and I think what we like to think we're good at it. We always can do better, and we think that the philanthropic community, which is broad, it includes individual philanthropists, of which we're grateful that we have a lot of them, and it also the corporate community is very supportive of the work that we do, because our goal is to make this region the best place for people to live. Or if it's the best place for people to live, it's going to be the best place for people with disabilities to live. We can't ignore the needs of families or children, our aging community. We're in this together.
Absolutely. I always look forward to an event that's coming up in May. We have to tell everybody about this. It's called the Evening of Changing Lives. It's held at Encore, and it's a fashion show. And I've had the great pleasure.
This is okay.
We haven't hit you up yet.
Yes, you have, but I feel like it's on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Yeah,
yes.
It's tough. It's very tough for a guy who works in the morning.
Exactly.
No two ways about that. But it's a magnificent event. And I want you to just tell so that people know what this event is all about. It's so great.
Thank you. And Kim, your support of this event over the years, because you bring not only your professional expertise, but your passion for our work. And it's so evident because Kim is our MC for the event. What makes this event really special is we bring the mission to the event. So we have a fashion show, and we have some local celebrities. We've got the Kims of the world, and we've got Josh Kraft, and I can go through the list of we've had governors and secretaries and business titans.
Sports.
Yes, we have a sports athlete. We'll be having one this year. That will be a surprise. But what makes it really unique is that we pair them with an individual we support across the lifespan. So how do you demonstrate to your donors the work that we do? Because we begin at birth with children who are in early intervention, and we end at the end of life. And in the middle, we have folks that are medically involved and people who have other challenges. So this fashion show allows us with 12 or 15 model pairs to be able to really demonstrate the breadth of the service, where the emphasis is not so much on the clothes, but the emphasis is on the fun and the hope and the success of everybody that is there that night.
I feel like such an important part of it is these individuals have a moment and people are recognizing them in that moment. And I think we all want to be recognized. I'd like more than one moment.
Yeah,
quite
you want to be
frankly.
seen.
You want to be seen.
Yeah.
And what is great about the pairings is that you guys do an excellent job of putting people together who bring out the best in each other. We have dancing at times. Last year we had one was a trainer and someone he had trained, and they did some workout moves on the runway. Just all kinds of fun things and people being seen. And it brings tears to my eyes every single time. I fight all the way through. I bring my daughter every year because she loves it so much, and it's just the greatest event.
Well, you've kind of summed it up. And people come up to me afterwards, and they're seasoned event goers. There are people who, a lot of us go to a lot of events. They go, this by far is the best event I've ever been to. I'll be back next year. This moves me in a way that no other event, because it tells the story of why your dollars are important and where your dollars are actually going to.
Yeah.
Diagnosis happens, and there's always that moment where you're just like, and then you get a chance to see through different eyes and the beautifulness of the different side. What is that like?
Well, I can tell you from a parent having that experience, which is traumatic, because we are all hoping for a healthy, typical child, and when that doesn't happen, those dreams are shattered. And for me, I began refocusing almost within hours, because I'm very competitive and highly impatient, and I wanted, a Rhodes Scholar. That's an Olympic athlete and a Rhodes Scholar. I wasn't looking for anything, too unachievable, was I? But when I first saw Jonathan and he was hooked up to more wires and things that I could imagine, I stroked his leg and I said, you might not be in the Olympics, but you can be in the Special Olympics.
Sure.
Yep.
So you begin to develop new dreams and new hopes. And I look back and think, oh, I wouldn't want this any other way. This was a gift. He is a gift to our community in the way that he has changed people's attitudes and lives. And a story when he went to the Holocaust Museum with his class, and the teacher reported, that they saw an exhibit where they talked about gypsies and religious leaders and Catholic clergy who were also murdered at the hands of the Nazis. And he raised his hands and he said, and they killed kids like me. In that moment, he was the teacher. And I could tell you dozens of moments like that. And so we are all richer for having people that are different in our lives.
Well, I know that I am richer for having the Northeast Arc in my life, and I've enjoyed every minute that I've been involved, and I look forward to May the 30th when we're going to be changing lives again over at Encore. And I'm sure that if anybody goes to the website, they can find out more information.
Yes, tickets are available. And
Great.
Sponsorships.
Yeah, that is. Oh, there you go. And sponsorships. Joanne, thank you so much for being a part
Thank
of
you very
Kerrigan &
much.
Company.
Thank you, Levan, for being so much part of our family as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been my pleasure. It really has.
This is Kerrigan & Company. Is your life getting more complex? Maybe jobs are changing, you're nearing retirement, shifting family dynamic, uncertainty about your financial future. It may be the right time to contact our sponsor, Great Point Wealth Advisors, for holistic planning and advice. Great Point Wealth Advisors is a registered investment advisory firm with offices in Boston and Danvers, Massachusetts. Listen to their short-form podcast, Great Points, on most streaming platforms, or contact them at greatpointwealth.com. That's greatpointwealth.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company. We're going to wrap up today with Levan Reid from WBZ Mornings. Thank you so much, because I know that this was a sacrifice. You came in to see me after getting off of work, and that makes a long day.
It's not really a sacrifice. I never got a chance to meet you, and I know we were supposed to do it in February on the 20th, and I got sick. So it wasn't like I owed you this. This is my pleasure, and this has been everything I thought and I heard about you is true. You're wonderful. You're wonderful.
Well,
person.
that's a nice thing for you to say, and you were worth the wait. I want you to know.
Much. Thank you.
And by the way, keep those pipes going.
I just, little
if
bit
I
of
decide
tea
I
here and
need
there.
a message or anything, can I maybe call you and have you do it?
Absolutely, no problem whatsoever. Free of charge.
No, I know, that's even better. Levan Reid, thank you very much. Be sure you check him out on WBZ in the mornings. He's terrific. And thank you for being with us here on Kerrigan & Company. Be sure to check it out wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan and Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.
Yes, Kerrigan and Company.